Kay, and I am here with my second layout for Kit Conspiracy for week 1. I'm also finishing up my sketches I never got to for Christy's Beautiful Life, 30 Days, and this sketch here is by Tracy England. So I'm doing this sketch again because my first recording got, misplaced. So I'm happy to do this sketch again because it was a very fun sketch. Now, at first I thought I was going to turn the sketch just to make something different. But once I got going, I realized everything I picked out was absolutely perfect for creating the sketch as is. So I've got a couple tiny word stickers from the Spring Garden collection, as well as my stash. I think a couple Prima ones and Tim Holt ones. I have some 4x4 cut apart squares from the collection. I also picked out a couple butterflies. I have some foam stickers here. One little, I love these little vegetable pokes or whatever they're called. And then I have the Bloom and Grow also from the foam titles. I have 4 photos of these amazing mushrooms that are new to us, but we had a very, 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 very wet winter in 2021. And so in 2022, we got a lot of mushrooms growing in the yard, and I just thought it was fabulous to have all this and see the greenery and all that. And of course, by summertime, the ground is kind of scorched by the heat, and so it ends up that they disappear super fast. So if you don't go out and, like they say, smell the roses, you miss a lot of stuff. So I'm just sharing with you guys the picket fence paper that I'm going to be using for my background, and then I picked out I can't remember what it's called, but that other piece of paper for my pattern papers. And so I'm just going to trim off, figure out which way the picket fence paper, even though it looks like a solid, it actually does have a direction. And so I was making sure that the direction was correct. So I am going to trim up my photos. I'm going to leave 2 of them exactly the way that they were printed, but I'm going to cut off the white border so there's about a 1/16 of an inch, and then I don't have to worry about matting my photos. I've actually been enjoying doing this with my photos because before I usually would trim them all down and then use up paper to, what is the word? I would use paper up so that way I could get get it used up for one, but then make the border whichever size I want. But for these ones, I really do like the thin white border. So my first cut didn't go all the way through because I didn't push it hard enough on my glass mat. And then I decided I wanted it a little bit smaller. It was on the too big for me side. I always try to go big before I go small, so that way I can go small. And when I first started doing the Spring Is Here, I wanted to see if I could make it bigger than the photo, or do I need to shrink my photo down even more? Because I wanted the Spring Is Here to be at its largest, which is the red little circle cutter going on. So I went ahead and cut that out. This one here, I'm using all 3 of my smaller circles going on, so that way I have a variation of the circles. This one I also wanted the largest because I really did like this design, and I didn't feel like fussy cutting, to be honest. When I come down on my blade, I don't push hard enough, and so that's why I'm having to use my scissors to figure it out. There are some that I do end up sorry, I lost my train of thought. There are some that I do end up pushing all the way through, but it's just a matter of making sure that you have that even pressure all the way around. So I decided to shrink up one more of my photos, and then when I cut out that gorgeous grass circle, I couldn't bear to throw it away. So I thought, well, I'll just add it to the elements. It'll be fine. I'll figure something out to do with it because it was just super pretty. All right, I'm going to use my tearing ruler to go ahead and mimic the edges of the distressed gingham on this paper, because those are the edges that I wanted. And so I'm just going to use both sides of my tearing ruler. And I do have to say that when the paper is super thick, like this Simple Stories paper or even the 49 and Market paper, there are a couple spots that it gets hung up on the edge ruler. So I just have to maneuver the paper a little bit around those two little spots that are on that ruler. But other papers just rip beautifully with that. And I love how you don't get the same rip twice. Like, even though you only have the two images, I just feel like the rips are never going to be the same. I don't know. It's super fun. So I went ahead and put the red gingham both back and forth, back to back on each other to create my stripe going across the center of the page. And I do love it, but now I have a seam that I feel like needs to be covered up. So while I am trying to set up the rest of my layout and figure out where I want all my pieces to go, in the back of my brain, I'm trying to think of where I can get a seam without adding too much to the layout. I definitely don't want to take away from my center paper, but I definitely want to bring something in. Now, I have to tell you guys that I don't normally take pictures of mushrooms, and this is probably my third picture with mushrooms because it's a rarity where I am from. And so I do, even though these probably aren't very special, they're probably considered a weed of some sort. I don't know, to be honest. But I do know that it has to be really, really wet in order for mushrooms to grow. At least that's what I'm under the assumption of. And so I just get giddy when I see it in my area because it's a super dry climate here, you guys. And so when I see moss and mushrooms, and I don't mean mold, I mean moss and mushrooms, I get super excited. It's like a kid in a candy shop. Like, that is just the coolest thing ever. My first time in Washington, the state of Washington, I just wanted to take a picture of every tree, it's so green. I know it's wet all the time, but it is so green, so beautiful. Oh my gosh. All right. So I have decided that I want to take this paper by my leftover, my inner bits, which is actually what I was going to use as my photo mats until I decided that it was going to, that I really liked just the frame around the photo already. So I decided that this is absolutely perfect to go right in the middle, and I can even separate them just a little bit more and make it a little bit bigger. So that way I don't have to worry about, covering up too much of my paper that I want to show off, right? So I really do like how that looks. I'm super excited, super happy, and now I can put my layout back together. So I'm just going to try to mimic what I already had, put everything back together. I did rip off a little bit more down at the bottom because I didn't like how the off-white piece was poking down and almost touching my floor, my circles. And I did move my bottom cluster over to the left instead of on Tracy's design. She has it on the right. I moved mine all the way over to the left. Didn't even realize it, to be honest. I think I started on the right and realized that it was going to be too big, so I went ahead and brought it down. But I think the title helps. I think it helps let me know, separate it. I think the title drops down enough to where it works really well over on the left, even though the other circles are up there on the left as well. So I really like how this turned out. I love this. I love this circle made with my photo. I just think that turned out so well, unexpected, and I was able to bring it back into my layout as an embellishment instead of a focal photo or any type of photo at all. I just really like that. I am popping up my butterflies to make them fly across my page, so I really do like that. These green butterflies, I'm kind of glad there was only 2 of them. They seem to be, I don't know, a little off. A little different for this collection. I'm not sure, you guys. In the collection, I've noticed that there's darks and there's lights. So there's really bright blues and really bright pinks and really bright yellows. And then we have just a handful of the dark green butterfly, the dark yellow butterfly, just a handful. And I I almost want to say, is that a misprint and they were supposed to be as light as the other butterflies? Or was that intentional so we can pull off the warm colors? I'm not really sure. But I do know that I enjoyed mixing and matching the lights and the darks. So to add a little bit of dimension, or I should say texture to the layout, I'm scuffing up the edges of all of my butterflies, the additional florals that I brought in, and these tiny word stickers. I did scuff up the edges of all of my circles as well. I didn't scuff up the edges of my pictures, but everything else got this rough edge to it, just because I think that it adds a lot of texture to the layout, and it adds a lot of, and I know I say this like every video, but it does add dimension without bulk. And that is one of the reasons why I love that. Plus, I've got that rip going on in the center, which actually is like an optical illusion, because now it looks like my background paper was ripped and you've got this cool pattern behind it. And then another piece was ripped, almost like wallpaper being ripped off the layers. But then, of course, you saw that it was not built like that. All right, you guys. So I am going to finish off by trimming off my my circles. I absolutely love how, and actually, to be honest, now that I think about it, my circle cutoff that I added to the title adds a third circular element to my layout. And so now I've got my what are they called? The triangle of threes. I don't know what that's called, you guys, but I love it. I love how this turned out. Tracy, it was such a great sketch to play with. I do apologize for the first video getting lost. But I'm glad that I took the plunge and recreated this sketch, because it's gorgeous. It really is. I so full of, it could be interpreted anyway. So full of interpretation is what it is. All right. I do have a link down below for Christy's Beautiful Life, because this is one of the videos, even though it's still not in March. And also too, don't forget to check out Janet Fritz's channel to see how she is using her Kit Conspiracy kit. But today is not our regular day for posting. So if she doesn't have a post up, I do know that life is busy. It really is. And so she just, we just might not have a video every day for Kit Conspiracy for the week or anything. Our normal posting days are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for this month. Okay. All right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I truly appreciate it, and I will check y'all later. Bye.